Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, here to talk about all things WWE. It's been a very eventful time here in the world of WWE. We are just a couple days removed beforehand from Clash of the Castle and Worlds Collide on Saturday and Sunday this weekend. So we're definitely in store for what should be a very, very exciting next couple days here. We had Raw this week, we had NXT, we got SmackDown on Friday, ahead of Clash of the Castle on Saturday. Going to be a very exciting show for sure. For both Clash of the Castle and Worlds Collide. So this is more of a general kind of news roundup slash catch up, if you will. Haven't done a show in a week or two here. Busy times. Have had some changes in my schedule, but want to try and get these in here wherever I can. Today was a good time to do so. I did one at 4:30 here, kind of impromptu. John, everything's fine with John. I decided to kind of hop on. Again, schedule changes a little tricky. But the plan is to do a Clash of the Castle and Worlds Collide kind of preview show with John on Friday. That will probably be around, I think we said 2:00 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be more of that official kind of preview show. This weekend, it's going to be hard to do a post show. We got Clash of the Castle on Saturday, Worlds Collide at 4:00 on Sunday. We got All Out from AEW on Sunday night as well. Crazy times. Never, ever a shortage of wrestling here. But sometimes it does make it a little tricky to cover all of it. Especially when you figure this side of things. But we do have lots to talk about here. Rich, I'm gonna let you guys drive the conversation. This is literally just kind of to catch up on things here, what's been happening in the world of WWE. Rich Murphy, right off the bat, asking about one thing we saw on NXT last night. We had a bunch of main roster cameos here on NXT, helping build the importance of Worlds Collide, if you will. Worlds Collide will be on Sunday at 4 p.m. Bit of an unusual start time there for that show. But as the name suggests, there'll be Worlds Collide. We have not talked about it yet here on a post show or a podcast, whatever you will. The Worlds will be colliding because Nxt Uk is going on hiatus. That's the company line, and in reality, and they've said themselves. We will be getting NXT Europe. The launch of NXT Europe, I believe that will be early next year, as the maybe the evolution of NXT UK. I mean, to me, that always made more sense. It seemed a little weird just to focus on the UK when you've got a whole continent. I don't know, but naturally, the perfect next step would be to go NXT Europe, incorporating the more extensive scene over there. So we are getting kind of a I don't know, like a multiverse of madness, if you will, with NXT and NXT UK. We're gonna have title unification matches. NXT wrestlers facing NXT UK wrestlers. Championships will be united and unified as kind of a send off for NXT UK. We saw a number of layoffs or releases for NXT UK when that news first dropped about NXT Europe there. So this is kind of a way to fold NXT Europe in a way into the NXT Prime brand, and we're going to have NXT Europe next year. I think that's a good thing. I don't know if it needed to be so expensive here with the layoffs and stuff like that. That's just the business. That's how it goes. But we do have Worlds Collide, and we've talked about it before on the NXT shows. For me, I unfortunately have never really had the chance or the time to check out NXT UK. I always say, I really want to, and now I'm not going to have a chance to because it's going away. Maybe I'll get to watch NXT Europe, but that has been one of my challenges with this whole Worlds Collide thing. The build began 2 or 3 weeks ago, I want to say, and I have some familiarity with who these people are. I know the name Michael Satomura. I've heard of Blair Davenport. I've seen Tyler Bate here and there, but I really don't know much about them, and let alone really have any investment in them. So they come in NXT and they step up to the NXT champions, who I watch on a weekly basis, and I don't know who they are. And I'm like, it's hard to kind of really care about that match when you got Tyler Bate facing Braun Breaker at first place. At first, they set the stage for these matches, and for me at least, it's hard to really kind of get excited about it. Especially, investing is one thing you can say, okay, they're going to unify titles, it's important, but to really get excited about it, that has been kind of a challenge for me. I think NXT has done a good job overcoming that, where they've had video packages, we've had some segments with NXT UK talent. And that effect is still there for me, where I'm like, I still don't really know who these people are. And that's really my fault. Like, I imagine that there are a number of fans out there who do watch NXT UK and who have been excited to say, hey, Tyler Bates here. He's going to face Final Breaker. Hey, we're going to see Michael Satomura, Richard Green. He's never watched Nxt Uk. I know that's probably not just me. I'm trying to take credit or take the blame for that myself. It's like, no, I understand. If I had watched Nxt Uk, I would probably feel very differently. But I can't just pretend that I haven't watched the show at all. And sure, we've had, Walter was on some shows. We've had, Ilya Dragunov was on some shows, but we've only really had some crossover here and there. And other than that, I really haven't had the chance to watch much of the Nxt Uk talent. So that's why they did a good job last night, I will say, of really selling that importance of building up the show as kind of a big deal. As Rich pointed out a minute ago, we had a bunch of cameos. We had Finn Balor, we had Rhea Ripley, technically Kaylee Ray, who now known as Out of the Fire. Like, that was an unofficial cameo. Like, she was on the show, but that's kind of weird thing they did, where she was like, it was treated like a cameo, even though she's on the roster, but she's under a different name. Bit of an odd kind of continuity lapse there, maybe a little bit. We also had Ciampa, of course, former Nxt champion Ciampa at the end of the show. And then, of course, show closing angle, Ricochet. Ricochet returning to NXT, at least as a bit of a one-off here. He's going to be facing Carmelo Hayes for the North American Championship at Worlds Collide on Sunday. That one's going to be a very, very good match. Big fan of Ricochet myself. Very, very cool to see him doing very well here on SmackDown ever since Triple H took over. Now coming over to NXT only helps NXT. It's going to be a great match, and I see it as a win-win. He's probably going to lose, which isn't great, but there's no problem having a great match that gets people buzzing. And there are ways to lose and yet win in the process. Putting on a buzzworthy match gets some buzz going, and it turns out to be beneficial regardless of the result. So that's what I see happening here on Sunday. I think that's definitely going to be something to look forward to. That was probably one of the bigger matches we had. Steven says Ricochet Carmelo could be the best match of the card. I mean, I agree. I'm looking at the card right now. They all seem like they're going to be good matches. We had a couple more added to the show last night. Speaking of cameos, we had Doudrop and Nikki ASH confront Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. They're going to be challenging them for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, ironically, I could almost even see Doudrop and Nikki winning. They haven't really been doing anything on the main roster, but this does feel like more so just a temporary, a one-off return again, like Ricochet. In this case, Katana and Kaden literally said last night. They've beaten everyone else. NXT doesn't have a lot of depth in Tigers, let alone Nxt UK. So it makes sense, Doudrop and Nikki both from the UK to their varying places. So it makes perfect sense for them to be there. I can't think of any better option, really. So I'm sure that'll be a good match as well. A good kind of good spotlight for Kaden and Katana, to pick up a win, likely against Doudrop and Nikki. So that'll be good for them. Nesha chiming in. Hello, Nesha. Been a while. Hope you're doing well. We're talking about Worlds Collide here. We're going to see that on Sunday, and we're talking about a bunch of the cameos we saw last night. Again, I just mentioned Ricochet, I mentioned Doudrop, Nikki ASH, and they also set up the NXT Tag Team Championship unification match. We're going to see the Creeds. We're going to see Pretty Deadly, Gallus, and also Briggs and Jensen defending. So Briggs and Jensen and the Creed brothers will be defending their respective NXT and NXT UK Tag Team Championships in this unification match. Sure, that's going to be a good one as well. Can't imagine Briggs and Jensen are going to win here. I always thought it was kind of weird that they got the titles in the first place. I would assume the Creeds are going to win here. They've been on a very good run lately. They lost last night. They had they were in the main event against Gallus. Roderick Strong he cost them the match. It came down and argued with them because they said they don't trust him. Diamond is on the verge of imploding, as they have been for weeks now. It's just a matter of time. Maybe a loss on Sunday will be the final straw. Steven predicting the Gallus is going to win. And I don't know. I think this is an opportunity to build up, some of these Nxt UK stars, the ones that you want to kind of to feature more here going forward. Again, we're talking about how Nxt UK going on hiatus, but you're going to have some of these performers presumably join NXT Prime. So this is a good chance to kind of to spotlight them and feature them and kind of have them pick up a big win like this. And maybe part of that here could be the Creeds losing, whether it's against Gallus, whether it's Pretty Deadly getting the titles here, I don't know. But Steven saying Roderick Strong is going to cost the Creeds here. That could be it, right? I mean, maybe. It's certainly possible. I would wonder, would it be a repeat of what we saw last night? Is he going to try and help them? Is he going to cost them on purpose? could go a number of ways with it. I do think I think it's about that time. We've had this storyline going on for a while now, where it's just this perpetual frustration, lack of trust, and failure to coexist, as the way they used to say on the main roster. So I would assume, either the Creeds will win, and then maybe that'll make them say, okay, we don't need Roderick anymore, and we're gonna go do our own thing. Or maybe Roderick Strong will cost them, and then that will be okay. They're gonna implode. And then that could be what we see as well. That's just saying she's not feeling good. I'm so sorry to hear that. Daria got home from school. Hope you and your family are doing well. Hope you feel better ASAP. I hope you enjoy the shows this weekend. We're going to be covering both shows this weekend here at WrestleZone. We're going to have Clash of the Castle on Saturday and the World's Collide show on Sunday. We are going to get to talk about Clash of the Castle in a minute here. And again, we're going to do a more thorough preview show here, so I guess I don't want to be too redundant. I did want to talk about some of those cameos we saw on NXT. I thought that was very, very cool. Just to have we saw Ciampa again. Ciampa, especially, you see Ciampa back on NXT. He was holding the Goldie, his NXT championship. I think that's really cool, especially now. He's been on Raw. He's been succeeding on Raw. If this happened 3 months ago when he was kind of struggling on Raw, not really being used a lot, that would have been one thing. But now with Triple H in charge, he's being featured on Raw. He's had some great matches. He had an absolute banger against Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title. So he's been doing well on Raw. So to see him come back here to NXT, still talk about the importance of the NXT title, that was really, really cool. I like seeing that. I like seeing Gunther talk about the importance of the Nxt UK title. But that was very cool. We had Butch, the man formerly known as Pete Dunne, talk about the lineage of the Nxt UK title as well. And this is really, really cool. Stuff like that, makes it feel more important. It could have been kind of easy just to kind of have these matches and maybe try and inherently sell the concept of the worlds colliding, of the unification matches, but they went the next step and really kind of brought in these stars: Rhea Ripley, Ciampa, Gunther, Pete Dunne, or Butch, whatever you want to say. Finn Balor was the big one as well. Just to have them appear and lend their star power, even just with some brief cameos. Shayna Baszler, another one as well, to really sell the importance here. I'm definitely looking forward to it, at least more than it was. Again, I inherently kind of am still a little. Let me be honest. This weekend we got Worlds Collide, literally Worlds Collide, and AEW All Out will be back to back, pretty much. Essentially, I would imagine you could say Worlds Collide will go. Hopefully 3 hours, because you got All Out. The 0 hour pre-show is going to start at 7 p.m. So I'm hoping that it lines up so that it's at least as little overlap as possible. Ideally, no overlap. But we're in for an eventful weekend. If you're in my line of work, it's gonna be pretty crazy. If you're a fan, hey, even as a fan, if you're gonna try and watch all this, that's crazy as well. But again, if you're looking at it that way, no shortage of wrestling to watch. So it's going to be a fun time. But for me here, as I was saying, Worlds Collide, but literally leading right into All Out on Sunday night. Saturday, you got Clash of the Castle. And outside of the big companies, you got the Wrestling Showcase, more of an independent side. On the independent side of things, you got GCW show. The GCW, I think they have a show Friday and Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check on that. But they've got their Labor Day weekend, the whole series, the Second City Center, something like that. So many shows. So for me, especially, even just limiting it to Clash of the Castle, Worlds Collide, and All Out, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm excited for All Out. Clash of the Castle is going to be a good show. I'm looking more forward to that than I was maybe a couple weeks ago. I think the build's been fairly good for that as well. And again, I think All Out, my mind's on All Out right now. Steven's saying NXT did a good job building for Worlds Collide. Yeah, I think they did as good a job as you could expect. And again, I don't just think that's me, where it's you could have plenty of fans that watch NXT UK and are invested in that. But I think there are probably plenty of fans as well, like me, who probably have not been watching NXT UK and probably have a varying degree of familiarity. There's probably some fans that have never heard of Tyler Bate, maybe, right? Not everyone watches or keeps up with NXT UK. It's my job to kind of keep up with it and be aware of it to an extent. But again, I haven't really watched it. So that's a struggle for me. I'm watching it on Sunday. I imagine I've compared it to the AEW Forbidden Door show. I watch AEW on a weekly basis. I'm a big fan of plenty of their wrestlers. Then you got Forbidden Door, and I would say even that was different because like New Japan, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on Nxt Uk. Like some of their stars are huge, right? Some of them are absolutely like big. Like you got Okada, Tanahashi, big wrestling stars. They have that name value. Nxt Uk isn't quite there. At least that's my take on it. You feel free to disagree. So at least I could kind of like get into that where it's like I may not know who this person is, but I know the name. I know this is the person's a big deal. And I don't necessarily think that NXT UK has that going for it, but I am very confident the matches are going to deliver. I'm very confident. Ricochet isn't NXT UK, that's an exception. But you got, I've heard great things about Tower Bait. Michael Sudamer as well, a very esteemed veteran there. We're going to have the tag match here. We've already seen Pretty Deadly on NXT to some extent. We haven't really seen Gallus all that much. They had a match last night, but I'm not very familiar with them. Otherwise, here, that's really it. We're gonna have Nathan Fraser and Axiom. Ironically, two NXT UK guys that are now on NXT. So the world's colliding, like within worlds colliding in a way, it's kind of weird. But I have no doubt match is going to be great. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. And I imagine by Sunday night, we're all going to be saying, "Wow, what a great show that was." Regardless of investment heading into it, match is going to be good, and that's all that really matters. That's how these shows tend to go. Like dating back to like throughout the pandemic era, some of the builds for WWE shows wouldn't be great. Matches would be good, and then you're left feeling like you got a good show, and that's what counts at the end of the day. So I can't be all that upset. Steven's asking if Worlds Collide is in Orlando or in Cardiff, like Clash of the Castle. I've heard conflicting things. I don't know exactly. I'm not that it's reliable, obviously. I'm looking at Wikipedia now. It says it's in the Performance Center, but I saw tweets going around that like the talent would be flying out to Cardiff. So I don't really know. I haven't heard that it's in Cardiff, but I saw some people think coming out of last night thinking it was in Cardiff. Like I haven't heard anything. My assumption would be that it is in Orlando because I don't know if they would want to fly out all that talent to Cardiff. I know they're going there anyway, but there's more time you got to fly out. I imagine that that may not be preferable. I don't know. But that's a good question. It would make sense to have it be in Cardiff. I don't really know, honestly. I'm going to go with my gut and say it's in Orlando. I'm not sure if anybody wants to counteract me and look it up. Feel free. I don't want to derail the show by looking it up. This is the perk of having John on. I can kind of quickly look up something, but I don't want you all to look at me while I'm Googling. So I'm gonna assume it's in Orlando. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And we'll go from that. But overall, I do think Clash of the Castle is going to be a good show, regardless of any hurdles of investment going into it. I do feel pretty confident about that. Looking forward to it. We'll be covering here on the news side of things for us here on Sunday. It's going to start at 4 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to have coverage for play-by-play, news coverage coming out of the show. So we're going to see, it's going to be newsworthy. It's going to have world titles getting unified, worlds colliding. It's going to be a fun time. So that'll be on Sunday. But Saturday, we're going to kick off the weekend here, at least again, of the three big shows. We're going to have Clash of the Castle on Saturday in Cardiff, WWE's first big stadium show in the UK in, I guess, over 30 years. Looking at this card now, they've added to it a little more here on the home stretch for the show here. So on Monday Night Raw, they added Edge and Rey Mysterio against the Judgment Day. I think that was new this week. I don't even know anymore. Stuff is blurs together. That's the newest addition to the card. Edge and Rey Mysterio against Judgment Day, part of that ongoing feud here. The first time Edge and Rey Mysterio will have teamed up since 2002. They are former tag team champions from way back then, but obviously that's literally 20 years ago. So that's a pretty cool piece of history there. That was before my time, so I can't really vouch for how I feel about them as a team in that sense. That's cool, right? I mean, that's just that little piece of history itself. Seeing those two, I mean, bona fide, guaranteed future first ballot Hall of Famers. Edge is already a Hall of Famer for crying out loud, so that's cool. I think that'll be a very fun match. Now they did I would say pretty heavily plant the seed here. So Ray chose to team with Edge, and then on Monday he basically told Dominic, like, son, I needed Edge's experience. You didn't cut it, and sorry, it wasn't your time for this match here. Now naturally, Dominic's probably feeling a little jealous about that. On top of the fact that like he's already He's been recruited by Judgment Day. He shoved Edge when after Edge speared him accidentally during one brawl with Judgment Day. So like, it feels like we are very clearly setting up Dominic finally turning heel. Steven saying, at least in the general sense, Dominic turning heel has to happen eventually. There was some thought it could happen at SummerSlam. This could be a very good opportunity for it, especially with the fact that the Judgment Day lost at SummerSlam, and then Edge beat Damian Priest at Raw in Toronto. This could be a very good chance to have Judgment Day get a big win, with a big controversy or an asterisk with Dominic turning heel. Hey, at the end of the day, it's a win, and having Dominic do that, I think, would be a very fitting way to do it, right? I mean, it's you could have a Rhea Ripley interview, you could do this, that, or the other thing, but that would kind of guarantee that Dominic turning would guarantee that like this would be one of the more memorable parts of the show. Seeing Dominic turn on Rhea would be a very that'd be a big happening. So if I had to predict, I would say that's probably my guess at this point. Again, we're going to talk more about we're going to do more of a match by match breakdown here on the preview show on Friday, but this is just out on Monday, so it's definitely notable. But yeah, that would probably be my assumption at this point. Because like like I was saying earlier about Dynamite, this has been going on for quite a while now. There have been rumors and reports about Dominic and Rey splitting up for quite some time, and this does feel like it's a good time to do it. So that would be my hope and assumption. And if it happens, like I said, I've said it before on the show, I'm not all that optimistic or interested in seeing Dominic as a heel, but I'm also not loving his face run right now. So I feel like that would at least freshen him up and, fresh coat of paint, all that stuff. So I think that'd probably be for the best, because at least then you could kind of take him in a different direction and see how things go. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens there. That'll be on Saturday. Edge and Wright against Judgment Day. One thing that I have not gotten to talk about yet, we haven't done a show about it since it's happened, and he was on Raw, so I'll bring it up. Johnny Gargano is back in WWE. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Folks, when that happened live on Raw, that was the Raw in Toronto. I'm not gonna lie to you, I cried. Tears were there. Because I think Raw was in Cleveland the week before, and it felt so obvious. Like Triple H coming back, you got Karrion Kross coming back, Dakota Kai, Dexter Lumis. We're going to talk about him as well. Felt so obvious. Oh, Johnny's got to come back in Cleveland, and he didn't. And then it was like, all right, I guess Johnny's not going to come back yet. It's not his time. He's going to figure it out. And then I remember it was Raw in Toronto. I feel like it was like maybe like I think it was the 10 o'clock hour. Come back to a commercial with a crowd shot. And Rebel Heart hits, and folks, I was dumbfounded for a second. I was like, wait a minute, and I was like, holy crap, Johnny Gargano's back, and like, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps. I was so happy. Johnny Gargano, like for me, that was like one of the final pieces of like people coming back that I really wanted to see. I really wanted Karrion Kross to come back, and he did. I was very happy. Even if they weren't necessarily on my list, like I was very happy when Dakota Kai came back. I was happy when Bayley came back from injury. I was happy when Sky got called up to the main roster. But Johnny Gargano coming back, first time since he left the company last December, which if you watched the show back then, you'll remember I was very, very upset when Johnny Gargano left. I've been hoping he would return and or go to AEW when he did decide to turn. Obviously, he's been raising his child with Candice LeRae, Quinn, their son. But now Johnny's back on Raw. And then not only that, he got confronted by Theory, his stablemate in the way. Love it. Love that continuity. Perfect, like first feud for him. Now there's some thought that he might beat Theory for the briefcase, might make briefcase, possibly. But at the same time, maybe Theory comes out on the winning end of this, and that helps kind of cement him more as even more as this kind of rising star here. So it's a win-win for me. I love the continuity. I was a huge fan of all things related to the way. That made me very, very happy. As a tangent, we got a brief Index reunion on NXT. I think that was a week or two ago. And like with Johnny's return, I teared up. I was so thrilled. Like that was one thing. Again, Dexter getting released was so disheartening. I loved all things Index. If you listen to the show, you know that about me. So seeing the Index reunion made me very, very happy. Even as short-lived as it was, we had Dexter come back, and then I think they finally actually reunited. And then Dexter got arrested, like literally seconds later. I was like, oh my heart. Oh man, like good, but it was so good. It was so good to have Dexter come back, hug and kiss Indy, gives her a note saying, I love you, goodbye for now. And then he gets arrested. All of them span of like 30 seconds. Like, oh my gosh, like good stuff. Like you can just tell lately, and like both NXT and main roster TV, like it's been more driven. It's been more engaging, more dynamic, right? Like it's stuff like we got so used to things being kind of like, cut and paste, very predictable, way of doing things for the past year plus. Triple H is in charge, and it's renewed energy. It's exciting. Things flow. Things feel like they have purpose. There's more unpredictability. Things are happening. They're tying in history and continuity, like all things that make me very, very happy. So, whereas before, like months before, I was pretty skeptical and down on things WWE. As I said, when Triple H first took over, I feel encouraged and excited and just very, very optimistic about the way things have been going with WWE. For the most part, there's one exception that happened this week. We'll talk about that as well. The women's tag team title final that happened on Raw. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But with Johnny being back, we're very, very happy about that. Steven points out that Candice LeRae will probably be back soon. Probably, I would imagine. She did have a baby, and that's very much a case-by-case basis. Like we saw Becky Lynch come back, Ronda Rousey come back, Lacey Evans come back, but you can't necessarily assume, if at all, let alone the timeline of someone coming back that had a child like that. So I imagine she'll come back at some point in the future. Like I don't know when. When she does come back, if it's assuming it's with WWE, I think that'd be great. I think she'll be a great addition / return to the women's division there. So definitely looking forward to that as well. If/one happens, but Johnny being on Raw is wonderful. I'm very, very happy for him. He did it in an interview, like in a digital exclusive after he returned. You could just tell he was so happy. Like you could tell, like he loves WWE, he loves being there. And he literally said on Raw that like WWE is the place where he could make his dreams come true. And now he's back. I think that's a very, very good thing. So very, very, very happy about that. That was one home run swing by Triple H. So I was very happy about that he got Johnny back. One that I was not very happy with, and one decision that definitely did not go very well, was this past Monday, the finals of the women's tag team title tournament. It was Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah against Dakota Kai and Io Sky in the finals there. Ahead of Clash Castle, we know that Dakota, Io, and Bayley are going to be facing Bianca, Asuka, and Alexa Bliss there on Saturday. Now, throughout the bracket, this bracket was derailed by injuries. We had Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark get sidelined. I think before they even had the first round match, they're going to debut. Then they got pulled, and then Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan and Jason Jane got called up. Then they got pulled due to injury. So then we had a second chance match. So then that was won by Sonya Deville and Natalya. Then they wound up losing to Raquel and Aaliyah. Raquel and Aaliyah go to the finals. And all along, then throughout this tournament, it felt like it should either have been Dakota and Io, or I would have been happy with Asuka and Alexa winning, because that's kind of a dream team of former champions. So we get the finals on Monday, the finals of the tournament. First time we'd have champions crowned since Sasha Banks and Naomi were stripped of the titles. That was back in May. But this was a main event match, big spot for the titles, which throughout the run have been underutilized, undervalued, for lack of a better word. So the main event spot is great spot for Raquel, great spot for Aaliyah, for all of them, right? Literally, Dakota Kai 2 months ago was out of a job. She was released from WWE. Now she's back in the main event on Raw. Very cool all around. Very cool. Now, I think a lot of people were. I think they set themselves up to be disappointed because they were expecting Sasha Banks and Naomi to return after this match, and that didn't happen. So then that made the finish, which was questionable to begin with, not great in the first place. So then not having Sasha and Naomi upset a lot of people. For me, I thought the finish was not great either. Steven says it was a crappy finish. Dakota was not the legal woman once she got pinned, so that wasn't great. So if I remember correctly, I think Aaliyah snuck in and pinned Dakota, even though Dakota wasn't the legal competitor. And the show ends with Raquel and Aaliyah celebrating with Bianca, Asuka, and Alexa. Faces stand tall. It's a happy occasion. I just felt like it was such a clear slam dunk to have Dakota and win the titles, establish this trio of them and Bayley as a real dominant force with a title win here, and they lost. And I don't know. I just thought it could have been avoided. From what I could see, like the majority of fans were very upset with this, and like a lot of people were instantly like, "Oh, I guess the rose is off the Triple H era," and everyone kind of turned on Triple H. I didn't go that far. I did think it was probably like the first major miss since he took over, where again it felt like a pretty clear, a home run swing. You give Dakota and Io the win, have them have a good reign. Who even knows what's going to happen with Sasha and Naomi? Reportedly, weeks ago they agreed to return. Haven't heard anything since. I don't know what's going on there. That still hasn't been confirmed by really. I mean, that seems like I think it's been somewhat confirmed, but still like nobody really knows what's going on there. They still haven't returned. So for myself, I wasn't expecting them to return, and I was like, if they did, okay. If they didn't, okay. Like, I mean, like they've been gone, and I'm like, if they come back, cool. If not, cool. Like it's whatever, and like you roll on, and the show must go on, right? That's how it goes. But then them not showing up, that kind of made this questionable decision even more controversial. Steven says he hopes to see Sasha and Naomi this Monday. I think that makes sense. I think that'd be a good spot to do it. He agrees that Dakota and Io should have won. He's saying he's not taking Raquel and Aaliyah, especially Aaliyah. I mean, I will give Aaliyah credit. She's been in the developmental system, I think, since like 2015. It's been like several years at this point. And just in the past year-ish, she's finally gotten a spot. She's got an on and off run on SmackDown. She scored like the 4-second pin on Natalia. Got a little bit of a run there. Raquel, it's been great to see her shining on the main roster as well. I agree that it's kind of creepy when she smiles. That's her gimmick. It's fun that she smiles a lot. But yeah, it felt like such a clear. And obviously, we can, in this case, I guess Tuesday morning quarterback as much as we want. It's not our jobs to write the shows, but to me, it did feel like a pretty clean, cut and dry. Like they should have won. That felt like the right call, and they'd go that way. Now I've seen the discussion where it's like, okay, they gave the titles to Raquel and Aaliyah kind of as like lame duck champions so that Sasha and Naomi could beat them when they come back, but like that's kind of a weak, if that is the justification or the plan, like that doesn't really do it for me. I'm like, I would have rather in a way built up Dakota and Io and have them had a good run, maybe even delay Sasha and Naomi returning, have them have a good run, maybe Sasha and Naomi come back for Survivor Series and they do that. But whereas this, I'm like, I don't know. Again, now as Steven said, do you have Sasha and Naomi return this week? Do you have it be next week? I don't know. I was definitely dissatisfied with this outcome. All credit to Raquel and Aaliyah. They deserve it. I'm not saying that. They work so hard to get to this point, and they definitely deserve it in that sense. I just feel like the better option was not taken, and that's disappointing. That's what I'll leave it at that. I'm curious to see what happens next. Whether it's Sasha and Naomi returning, I don't know. Nobody knows. Again, I've maintained all along. Nobody really knows what's happening there, let alone me. I sit here. I have no idea what's going on. So I don't know. But lots else to talk about here. Yesterday, August 30th, completed 2 years. 2 years of Roman Reigns as the Universal Champion, which is absolutely remarkable. I believe that was the first 2-year reign since Hulk Hogan held the WWE title in the 80s, one of his title reigns in the 80s. That's fantastic, right? I mean, I took me back. We were all probably watching Payback live in 2020, and Roman Reigns won, and that was the beginning of the Tribal Chief era here of his career, of WWE itself. Now, granted, I think the first year of his reign was a lot better than the second. The second year, yeah, I guess I don't want to go that far because he faced John Cena last year at SummerSlam. That was great. I love that. So maybe like the last 6 months or so of this second year haven't been great. He has this new contract. He's on a part-time deal, and that's been very disappointing. Where he's like barely around. He misses most of the pre-line events. And for me personally, that's not what I love to see of a guy holding both world titles. That's not great. From what I prefer, I like having a champion be on the show. I like having a fighting champion. But that does set the stage for Clash of the Castle. We're going to talk about more on Friday. Drew McIntyre going to face Roman Reigns for the titles on Saturday. Now there's a lot of people, especially like they've produced some really like extensive video packages for Drew McIntyre, really selling the story about his homecoming and his journey back to the title here. And it makes me wonder, like, could Drew actually win? Now just today, Drew McIntyre posted a video of himself training and what song should be playing in the background but Broken Dreams, what the song everybody wants to see him come out with at Clash of the Castle. If that happens, goosebumps. I don't know if Drew's like if that's necessarily the right call, because for me at least, I still feel like Drew McIntyre, he was literally the face of the company for well over a year during the height of the pandemic era, and now we're over a year removed from that. Of course, probably called a year and a half, but I still kind of have that like perception in my mind, or I don't know if I necessarily want to go back to having Drew McIntyre as your face of the company at this point. But I will say there's no doubt if Drew does win on Saturday in Cardiff, that's going to be a great moment. The pop's going to be huge. It's going to be great. The end of this 2-year reign for Roman, like that's a big moment whenever it happens. And having it be in another inherently big moment for Drew in Cardiff, I think I guess I can see the merit to that. And just like I was just saying, I would almost rather have even if it's Drew, I'd rather have a fighting champion be on the show than having Roman that's maybe not be on the show every week. He'll be on the show on Friday. They're going to celebrate his 2-year anniversary of his title reign here, so I'm looking forward to seeing him there. But yeah, I've enjoyed his title reign. I think in a lot of ways he has, especially again the first year plus of that title reign. I would say he carried WWE best part of the show in a lot of ways when he's on. But nowadays it's like he's very, very rarely on. But even then, but when he is on, like he was with the same, and the Usos on Monday and on Friday as well. That segments of the night. It's entertaining stuff. I just want more of it. It's like your favorite food. If you don't have it a lot, like it's so good when you have it, but then you want more of it, and you can't always have it all the time. Like let's say you really like, I don't know, pizza, right? You can't have pizza every day, and I know that you get that, but then you want pizza more, and then either maybe you start to have pizza more, and there's diminishing returns, or you save it for special occasions, and then you like it more when you have it. So maybe that's the way to go. And so again, I get it, right? I get it. He's a part-time star now. Okay, he is their top star. It makes sense. I get it. You don't have to like it. For up to me, I have pizza every day. But that's not the way things go, both in nutrition or in the world of wrestling. So I get it. We'll touch spotlight this match because I am looking forward to it. We're going to see Sheamus versus Gunther at Clash of the Castle. It's going to be a great match. Steven says he hopes they continue with the feud. It could be a great rivalry. That one's going to be a banger. 2 great powerhouses there. Sheamus and Gunther are, it's going to be great, right? I think should be a great one for Gunther. 2 guys. I mean, Gunther's Austrian, Sheamus is the Celtic Warrior. So a very cool match to have there in the UK. Can imagine the crowd's going to be hot for that one. Sheamus is like one of the most underrated workhorses on the roster. I've very much been enjoying Gunther's run here. So I'm looking forward to that. I think overall here, the whole card for Clash of the Castle is going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we are going to talk more about the card for both Clash of the Castle and Worlds Collide on Friday. On Friday, we're going to do the preview show, and Steven also points out Sheamus never won the IC title. If he does, he'll become an ultimate Grand Slam champion. So we can look forward to that one as well. Potentially, if he wins, I don't know. My money would be on Gunther, but maybe they want to give Sheamus the accolade. We'll wait and see. We'll hear what John has to say about that on Friday when we do the official preview show. But this was more of a general roundup, kind of just to catch up with things that are going on here in the world of WWE. Looking forward to AW Dynamite tonight. We're going to have AW All Out on Sunday as part of this very, very action-packed weekend of wrestling here. We're going to have you guys covered with all things here for All Out, for Clash of the Castle, for Worlds Collide, all of it. For news, play coverage. If you can't watch the shows live, we're going to be covering Dynamite tonight. We're going to be covering SmackDown on Friday. All of that and more over at the WrestleZone here, as well as to the extent we can, great stuff on the podcast side of things. Dominic and Marcus do the two Dynamite News on the Rampage, covering all things AEW. I tried as much as I can to cover WWE, doing post shows here. We're still trying to find the best schedule for that. But that said here, folks, I thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be looking forward to this weekend of wrestling here. If I don't see you on Friday, we're going to do this show on Friday as well. But for that, hope you enjoy the rest of this week. And remember, no matter what's going on in the world outside, we do one thing above all others, my friends, and that is to enjoy wrestling. Thanks for listening, everybody.